Yes, you're most welcome.
Kindly guide us as far as the list of questions to be asked to the prospective groom or the bride is concerned.
As far as the list of questions to be asked to the prospective bride or bridegroom, I personally don't know of any list of questions mentioned in the Quran that has to be asked or the Hadith, but seeing the way the verses of the Quran and the Hadith, etc., a person can derive a list of questions that can be asked. And normally, people when they go for a matchmaking, the most important thing is the photograph. And most of them, they reject the prospective bride or bridegroom just by looking at the photograph. Unless a new technology comes where you can come to know the virtue by the photograph. Fine, there can be negative testing. For example, if you find that the girl is immodestly dressed up and reject her, not looking at the beauty, at the immodesty, it's acceptable. Or similarly, if the girl sees a boy who is immodestly dressed up and if she does, that's a different thing. But normally, the normal routine that we have in our society today, when a bridegroom or a boy goes to select a bride, he asks, "Oh, khana pakane aata hai kya nahi? Do you know how to cook food or not? Can you cook biryani? And fine, you can take care of the children." These are normal questions which I wouldn't say are useless, but would not be in the top priority. If you have the top 10 or the top 20 or the top 50, I wouldn't put them in the top 10 or top 20. It is important, but it is low down the list. The most important, as I mentioned in my earlier answer, is to find out that the spouse you are going to marry, is he or she virtuous or not. So questions basically should be to find out whether the would-be spouse is virtuous or not. To find the other three criteria, beauty, wealth, nobility, is very easy. Virtue is very difficult. If you want to know she is beautiful or not, you look at her and you come to know. It is subjective. Immediately within a few seconds you can decide whether she is beautiful or not. Very easy. You want to come to know how wealthy she is, how wealthy he is, you look at the bank balance, do a little inquiry, the property the person owns, little bit inquiry you have to do whether it's a fraud or not, is it on loan, or does the person own it himself. But it's possible and very easy to find out, and less chances that you'll be deceived as far as coming to know whether the person is wealthy or not. The third criteria, whether the person belongs to a noble family or not, you just look at the sajara or look at the family tree, who are the parents. It's easy, and the chance will be right is close to 100, either 98 or 99%. Beauty immediately you can decide. Wealth also do a little survey. Nobility, 99% you can come to know, and then you can give marks. But as far as giving marks for a person to identify that the person is virtuous is very difficult. We had in our school days, in our college days, in the subject of science and chemistry, we had confirmatory test. We used to call CT. Confirmatory test means you do a test and you confirmed that this element is potassium or it is sodium. Confirmatory test. And there's something like negative testing. Come to know this doesn't belong to this category. Negative testing. So in virtue, doing negative testing is very easy. We used to say that the person is not virtuous is very easy. For example, if a boy goes to select a girl, and if she's wearing a skirt and a mini, you can easily say she is not modest. Very easy. But if the girl is wearing hijab, you cannot say for sure that she is modest. So the negative testing in virtue is very easy. You come to know the boy is having alcohol, he is gambling, surely he is not virtuous. Easy. But if he is not having alcohol, you cannot say for sure that he is virtuous. So negative testing, if you find certain criteria in the spouse, in the girl or the boy you're going to marry, if you come to know these negative factors, you can easily put her in the bracket of not virtuous, if these criteria are formed. But some criteria per se, just by seeing one criteria as not being virtuous, you can't reject the girl or the boy altogether. If the criteria of virtuous is a very small negative factor, but you find out that the other factors are good and but natural, you can yet give it a chance or give it a thought. As far as the list of questions to be asked, in the first criteria, you don't have to ask anything, you have to look and you'll come to know. And though there's a verse in the Quran, in Surah Nur, chapter number 24, verse number 30, hijab for the men, that said to the believing man that he should lower his gaze and guard his modesty. And next for the woman, in Surah Nur, chapter 24, verse number 31, that said to the believing woman that she should lower her gaze and guard her modesty. This criteria is relaxed when you're going to choose a life partner. So you can look at your would-be life partner by selecting a life partner. So the first criteria is very easy. Second, as I said, wealth, nobility. Wealth, nobility can easily be verified. Wealth can be checked up. The most difficult is the virtue. There are various questions you can ask, and depending upon the reply given by the prospective wife or husband, your next question may change. For example, if a girl is going to interview a boy, normally in our culture, not religion, culture, the boy can ask the would-be girl any question. Top to bottom, left to right, no problem. But if a girl asks questions, means it is, oh, ye to sahi ladki nahi hai. She is asking me questions. That means ye to bahut outward hai, as immodest, You have full right, the girl has full right to ask the question to the boy has full, but natural within the purview of the Islamic Sharia. But natural, but you can always, to see that you don't offend, let the boy ask the question first. So you can ask the boy, okay, what would you like to ask from me? So that it goes off, smoothly, not that he feels that you're extra modern. So to be modern is good, mashallah. Islam is a modern religion. But these are the concepts that we have in our society, in our culture. So it's preferable that you give the first chance to the boy to ask. And if the boy is comfortable, the boy can say, you can always say, let the girl ask first, no problem. But if a girl is there, they always give a chance. It's preferable, so that everything goes smoothly. And most of the questions, most of them, not all, can be the same. For example, the girl can ask the boy after the boy finishes, since it's a girl who asked a question, that what kind of a girl would you like to marry? Indirectly, you're trying to find out that the answer he gives, now you'll have to judge that what type of person is he. You may say, I want a very beautiful wife. Fine. Not too much positive, not too much negative also, but I want a wife who's very educated. Fine. No problem. But does he put the criteria that I want a virtuous wife? If he doesn't put that criteria, he himself may not be that virtuous. One is asking a leading question, one is asking an indirect question to get the reply. And the list of questions can go to thousands. I don't want to end the show only giving the list of questions. But then you can ask the leading question that, would you mind marrying a girl who does not do hijab? Yes, I don't mind as long as she's beautiful. So come to know, okay, fine, this person is not virtuous. So now you're indirectly trying to judge the level of virtue of the would-be husband by asking indirect questions. This is one way. And you can carry on like, would you like to marry a girl who does not offer salah? Or later on you can ask direct questions also. So in this way, first to try and find out how virtuous is the would-be boy you want to marry or would-be girl that you want to marry. Similarly, if a boy has to ask a question to a girl, if he's starting, or the girl, her chance comes to ask a question, you can ask leading questions that to find out how much he practices. Don't take it for granted. Same question can be asked, that what type of a spouse would you want? That's a very good question. It's a very easy way to come to know what is the view of the opposite person. If that girl is virtuous, she will give answers based on Quran and Sunnah. Then you can ask the question, how many times a day do you offer salah? Some will feel offended. Oh, asking on salah. Or you can say that, I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you a leading question, but because I want a virtuous husband, I would like to be sure. And you can ask the question. He may say 5 times, he may say no, 4 times is regular and 1 time, sometimes I miss the Fajr Salah, whatever it is. Now while you're asking question, you should come to know that the person who's giving the answer, is he just answering for the sake of answering, or are the answers a fact? Because if that person realizes that the opposite person, she's a beautiful girl, but she wants a virtuous husband, so he'll try to behave like being virtuous. No, I to 5 times padhta hu. Chhodta hi nahi. So you ask a simple question, that what time is the time for Fajr Salah? Don't ask Zohar Salah, because Zohar Salah is the same throughout the year. Zohar Salah, when the sun is at the topmost part of the same. So ask, what is the time for Fajr Salah? Fajr Salah, Fajr Salah. Fine, the person may take a little time because, but if he pulls the fast one, what time is the time for Maghrib? And when you ask, don't ask it too much of ego, ask with humility. I'm sorry, depending upon the nature of the person you're talking to, your question framing will change. Some people are very sensitive. What do you mean? You're asking me how many times I pray? This cannot be the first question. It can be in between, after you ask the other thing. So, you may ask simple, what is education? But these questions people don't mind. It's a general question. So first question, if you ask what is Salah, there may be a problem if the person is not very virtuous. Or he may be virtuous, but he may think that you doubt his taqwa. He may not be broad-minded. So normally you can ask, where have you got education from? Fine. There may be criteria that you may want to know how good his English is, how good the Urdu is. And these are criteria which may not come in virtue, but comes in compatibility. It is very important that you have a compatible spouse. So if you have option, a person who is virtuous and doesn't know English, and a person who is virtuous and knows English, in which language you're comfortable and you want to involve, so but natural, then you can judge that. So these, when you're asking general questions, that is education. And education is also important. What is education? Where have you passed from? Which college you went to? Which subjects you took. So here when you're asking these, you are making him comfortable initially. Now while you make him comfortable, you are trying to find out the answer that is given. You are trying to judge how good the English is. You are trying to judge his level of education, which is also important. The education is not there in the 4 criteria mentioned by the Prophet, but you want to get compatible, because not that an uneducated person can't get married. But if you are educated and you want someone of the similar level, it's permissible. So after you do the other checking of the education level, of the language, of the culture, which is important. But the main is virtue. So you can ask leading questions. After knowing about Salah, then do you fast in the month of Ramadan? It's a leading question. Do you fast the complete month of Ramadan, or do you fast even the accessories, additional fast? Now if you ask, do you fast Ramadan, what do you mean? How fast? So do you only fast the full Ramadan, or do you keep the additional fast, or so that he doesn't feel offended? Based on the answer, even if he says he only fasts in the month of Ramadan, sufficient, not that he has to keep the fast of Shawwal. If he keeps, alhamdulillah. In this way, you try and find out the pillars of Islam. Salah is there. Then Som is there. Zakat, if required, you can ask. Have you performed Hajj? This question, no one will feel offended. But you can come to know. And very important is the Aqidah, the Tawheed part of it. Asking that, which school of thought you belong to? What do you think is the most important book in Islam? Trying to find out that the person who would marry, how much knowledge does he have about Islam? It's Quran and Sunnah. And then you can ask leading questions to find out that is he involved in any innovation. He may be fasting, he may be praying, he may have gone for Hajj, he may be giving a zakat. But ask leading question to know whether is he involved in certain innovations. Because if he is involved in innovation, the first pillar, that's Tawheed, is very important. The person should not be involved in any form of shirk. Because shirk is the biggest sin in Islam. Allah says in Surah Nisa chapter 4, verse number 48, and in Surah Nisa chapter 4, 116, that if Allah pleases, He may forgive any sin. But the sin of shirk, He will not forget. For anyone who does shirk, he stayed far away. Fine, no Muslim will ever do open shirk, but there may be other hidden shirk or lesser level. So in this way you can ask leading questions about Aqidah, about the school of thought, and does it match with your view, or does it match with Quran and Sahih Hadith? So main leading question should be on virtue, and the answers should be based on whether Islam that they follow, is it on ritualism, on culture, or based on Quran and Sahih Hadith. Most of the answers that the would-be husband or wife, a girl or boy, or marry, the answer should be based on Quran and Sahih Hadith. You should also try to find out that is the person involved in any major sins or not. At least try and find out, if not all, the common major sins that are there. When you ask about Salah, Zakat, the first few are there. Don't ask me, have you committed murder or not? That is the second sin. So Zakir Bhai said, so I have a list of questions. First is shirk, second is murder. Have you murdered anyone? So but natural, which is, you assume that he has not done. But then the other one you can ask that, hope you don't have any vices. I'm sorry, don't feel offended, but I'd normally like to have a virtuous husband, so I want to be sure that the life partner I'm going to be with, does he have any vices like having alcohol, involved in drugs, does he smoke? And sometimes it's okay, I don't have vices except for smoking. Negative factor, but certain things can be, if the other factors are good. That doesn't mean any of the answer is no, that means finish. Person may say, I offer 4 times salah. The morning fajr sometimes I miss. That doesn't mean that he is completely disregarded. The person says, I only offer Jummah to Jummah. Then there's a big query. Should you go ahead or not? So based on the replies, then you can keep on asking further. And depending on it, that ask other questions, that how much do you think is important to convey the message of Islam? To find out, is he proud to be a Muslim? And then on appearance you can come to know that is the person keeping a beard or not. If the girl is looking for a would-be husband, and if the boy is looking for a would-be wife, he would observe whether hijab or not. But sometimes you have to be careful. Sometimes the girl, they may be doing strict hijab, but when you go to look at her, she may not do complete hijab thinking, that she wants to impress you. So she may come in front of you not doing the hijab which she normally does. She may wear maybe a dupatta, but the hair may be seen, and you may assume. So is this the normal way you dress when you go out? You can ask a leading question. Because the hijab can be relaxed, so she may do that. So you have to be careful when a boy is going to look at the girl. But the girl, when you look at a boy, you can see whether he has a beard or not. It may not be the most important, but it is important whether the person is covering his head or not. Covering that is sunnah. Not that you reject a person because he doesn't cover the head. But if he covers, oh fine. But again, covering doesn't mean he's Islamic. You may get that half out of 100 on Islam, but that doesn't mean the other criteria, everything is there. There are many people who cover the head, but they're far away from following the sunnah and hadith. So these days, sisters, the questions you can ask many questions. You can ask questions about the future. The girl, what she wants to do. Maybe if she wants to do dawah. So if your wife, don't say I, because you're just interviewing. If the girl you marry, if she wants to do dawah or go to an Islamic organization, at least 2 hours every day, would you allow? Don't say, if I want to go, would you allow me? Because yet it hasn't taken place. So the girl that you marry, if she says that she wants to go 2 hours every day, would you allow her? Now when the stages are on the higher stage, everything is done and engagement, and then you can say that if after marriage, if I want to go, will you allow her? That's fine, because they're on a higher stage. So it depends whether it's the first meeting, second meeting or third meeting. And the questions can keep on. And you can ask other questions which you feel, what you want to do. Certain things you realize that what are faraiz, you have to ask upfront. That would you like your wife doing hijab? He said, I wouldn't mind. Suppose the wife says she will not do hijab. Will you agree? He says, I wouldn't mind. Then you know that what type of Islam that he believes in. So these leading questions should be asked, and the list I don't know, we can go on and on and on. But you should always know that what is your priority in life, that if you know that you're a da'i and you want a da'i, you have to ask him questions. That what's your profession? How much time do you spend in conveying the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or is he just a so-called average Muslim who prays 5 times a day, fast in the month of Ramadan, maybe he's gone for Hajj, doesn't smoke, doesn't have alcohol? Fine. But is there anything else? Is he involved in dawah? Is he involved in conveying the message? Is he proud to be a Muslim? Or is the person apologetic? Is he shy? What are his types of friends? So the questions, sister, the list can never end. We can keep on asking and trying to find out. Therefore the TV can go on for a couple of hours. Maybe one session, can be a couple of sessions. There is no rule that you should have one meeting or what is the duration of that meeting. but natural as much as you can. But go prepared. Make a list of questions. You may forget, you may not have that memory. So note it down, make a list, then you can ask. Want to know his vices? Important. What you want to do? And would you like your wife to earn a living? To know what is his view? These questions, but natural, when you ask a question, see to it that you behave like a virtuous girl. And so after I do the important duties of house, not that fine, I want to go for dawah, means full day, 10 hours I'm doing dawah and I come home and relax, fine. You have to look after your home affairs also, that's important. So this was just in brief, sister, and the list can keep on continuing for endlessly.